Hi, I'm Gary Martin Hayes, and on this segment of my TV show, I'm going to disclose the many reasons why it's important to hire an attorney after a workers' compensation injury. So please stay tuned for great resources at the end of this video. And good morning. Thanks for starting your day here with us on Atlanta's CW Network. Let's look at a question now from one of our viewers. Gary, thanks for taking time to review my question. I work in a warehouse pulling items off of shelves, loading them onto pallets, and then I take the pallets to the loading dock. I then take the items off of the pallets and load them onto trucks. Last week, I really hurt my right shoulder when I was reaching up to grab a 50-pound bag off of a storage shelf. Now my shoulder is killing me. I can hardly move it, and it keeps me awake at night. The insurance company sent me to an industrial clinic, and they told me to get an MRI of the shoulder. The MRI shows I completely tore the rotator cuff. The company now wants me to see an orthopedic surgeon. I have two questions. One, I've only been with this company about 4 months before I hurt myself. Does this matter? And number two, should I get a lawyer to help me with this case? I really don't like the way the insurance adjuster is talking to me when I call and ask about my workers' compensation checks. And that question comes to us from Cecil in Covington. Cecil, thanks for the question, and I'm very sorry to hear about your shoulder injury. I also tore my right rotator cuff and had to have surgery, and I can tell you from personal experience, it is a painful, long process going through the surgery and the rehab. But let me address your two questions, and then I want to talk about the types of shoulder injuries we typically see arising out of on-the-job injuries. And again, your first question, I've only been with this company about 4 months before I hurt myself. Does this matter? The simple answer is no, it does not matter. You could have been on the job only 10 minutes. As long as your accident and injury occurred on the job and in the course and scope of your employment, and provided your employer had 3 or more employees, then your claim is going to be covered under Georgia's workers' compensation system. Now your second question, should I get a lawyer to help me with this case? I really don't like the way the insurance adjuster is talking to me when I call and ask about my workers' compensation checks. Cecil, I highly recommend that you hire a lawyer immediately. And I really think you answered your own question when you wrote about how the adjuster was already treating you. Insurance companies are a for-profit business. If they can find a way to decrease the value of your case or to encourage you not to seek all the cash and benefits that you're entitled to receive, then they make money. And I can assure you, the adjuster does not have your best interest at heart, and they're not going to go out of their way to help you. And I'm more than happy to speak with you about your case. The call is free, completely confidential, and there is no obligation. Now let's talk a little bit more about the shoulder and the types of injuries we typically see due to on-the-job injuries. Now the shoulder is composed of 3 bones: the clavicle or collarbone, the scapular or shoulder blade, and the humerus, the upper arm bone. For the shoulder to remain in a stable position, it must be anchored by muscles, tendons, and ligaments. These act in concert to give you a lot of mobility in this joint. But because of the mobility, you are also more prone to injury. These shoulder injuries can occur from a worker doing a repetitive job or process or operation on an assembly line, or from lifting heavy or bulky objects, especially, like your case, Cecil, if the job involves overhead lifting. In 2011, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were 86,620 workplace shoulder injuries reported in the U.S. A 2003 survey from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed that back injuries were the most frequently reported on-the-job injury. However, shoulder injuries kept people out of work for a longer period of time. It's also been reported that in 2006, approximately 7.5 million people visited a doctor for shoulder problems. 4.1 million of those visits were for the same type of injury Cecil has, a torn rotator cuff. Now, the rotator cuff is really a group of 4 muscles that keep the shoulder joint stable. The tear can either be classified as full thickness or partial thickness, depending upon the severity of the tear. A full thickness tear extends from the top to the bottom of the muscle or tendon. A partial thickness tear affects at least some portion of the muscle tendon. And the tears can either be caused by a traumatic event due to trauma from a fall or lifting a heavy object, or a chronic tear, and that's the result of repeated action over time with the arms working above shoulder level. Now, if you have a rotator cuff tear, you'll have pain on the top of the shoulder or down the outside of the arm, shoulder weakness, Loss of range of motion in the shoulder and the arm can feel very heavy, weak, and you can have a constant, dull, achy pain. The best way for a doctor to diagnose this injury is through imaging tests, such as an MRI or CT scan or ultrasound imaging. And Cecil, you wrote that you were being referred out for an MRI, so that will definitely let us know about the nature and severity of the tear. And if surgery is needed to repair the tear, I promise you there will be an extended period of disability. And whenever people are forced to miss work because of a shoulder injury, they and their families experience all kinds of worries and they often suffer financially. People call me all the time with the same types of questions when they have suffered on the job injuries. Who's going to pay for my lost time from work? Who pays my medical bills? Do I have to treat with a company doctor? Can I see a doctor that I know and trust? And what about my future medical needs? I will tell you the same thing, Cecil, I tell every caller. If you're hurt on the job, you need to protect yourself, protect your family, and hire an attorney that specializes in workers' compensation claims. We'd be happy to help. 1-800-WIN-WIN-1, the law offices of Gary Martin Hayes & Associates. We'll be back.